In a previous video, I went through balancing these 10 reactions for Science 10. In this video, I'm going to go through just the reaction types. So I would encourage you to look at these and label them as one of the 5 reaction types you've learned in Science 10: formation, decomposition, single replacement, double replacement, or combustion. Realize not all reactions fit under these 5 categories, and some of these reactions do not fit at all or don't quite fit into these definitions. So the solution will follow in about 10 seconds. So hopefully you've paused the video, answered these, and now let's review. So in the first example, we have just nitrogen, so we'd refer to this as an element. Compounds have more than one types of elements. This is an elemental form of nitrogen. We have another element, and those came together to make a compound. The compound can be ionic or molecular, it doesn't matter. So metal and a non-metal, or two non-metals. So this is an example of a formation reaction. Two elements or 3 elements coming together making a compound is formation. Our next example, we have a compound, and that is breaking apart into one element and a compound. So a compound is turning into a compound and another element. This is very close to decomposition. It's not quite, because it's not breaking into 2 elements. So most likely you would label it as decomp, but particularly as you go into Chem 20 and 30, it technically is not. It's a breaking down, but not into its elements. So I'm not going to label any of these, but wouldn't fault you if you put decomp again. Next one doesn't fit into any of our categories. We have CO2 and water making a sugar and oxygen. When you look at this, you should be thinking this is kind of like combustion, but it's on the wrong side. If we flip things around, we would be burning a sugar, but things are not on the correct side. So you may have learned of this in Science 10 or in previous grades. This is cellular respiration, but it is not one of the 5 reaction types that you would be tested on in Alberta Science 10 or Chem 20. Next reaction type, we have NaCl. So this is a compound that is reacting with an element. We have just the fluorine element. Now fluorine comes in pairs, and we make a compound and another element. So this is an example of a single replacement. In single replacements, 2 like species will switch. So either 2 metals, potential positive species would switch, or 2 non-metals. So in this case, it is the non-metals that will take a switch. So this is a single replacement. Some teachers will call this a single displacement. Next, number 5 looks just like number 1. We have the elemental form of hydrogen. We have the elemental form of oxygen. Only one element in this molecule, only one element in this molecule. So we call those the elemental forms, and they make a compound. So this is another formation. Next, we have something a little bit more complex. It's definitely not element and element, so it's not formation. We have lead to hydroxide, so that is a compound. It's ionic, doesn't really matter. We have another compound, HCl. Compound and a compound is making a compound and a compound. So we have a switch here, kind of like we had in the single replacement. We're going to have the lead and the H plus switch places, and they're going to pair up with different anions or non-metals. The lead will pair up with the Cl, and the H will pair up with the OH. So this isn't a single replacement, but a double replacement. Next one is quite similar. We have aluminum bromide, we've got a compound, we've got another compound. This one is just polyatomic. We've got an ionic compound here, potassium ions and sulfate ions. We make potassium bromide a compound and lead sulfate another compound. So we have another double replacement. Moving on, I'm going to categorize all of these together now. We have a fuel, so we have a hydrocarbon, C's and H's. They're all reacting with oxygen, and they're all making carbon dioxide and water. Okay. A fuel plus oxygen making carbon dioxide and water, or you could say water and carbon dioxide. The order doesn't matter. These are all hydrocarbon combustions. I just didn't write out the word hydrocarbon. So I'm just putting double tick, so combustion all the way down. Okay. So we had most of the reaction types, we had something very similar to decomposition, but didn't quite meet the definition. So hopefully you were successful in identifying most of these reaction types.